For more on the summit, our correspondent Jack Parrock joins us on the line from Brussels. Good evening, Jack. Now, there are serious divisions among EU member states in how to deal with this crisis. What was the mood like as EU leaders arrived at the summit?
So I have to say the mood as they arrived was slightly more, slightly nicer than it has been in previous days, especially with the Interior Ministers meeting yesterday. The main person that everyone was looking at was the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who's taken a really hard line against the refugee crisis by building a razor wire fence on the border with Serbia and also building fences on the border with Croatia. He says that there should be some preventions and that the security of the EU's external borders needs to be held, and he's trying to do that by preventing people crossing in. Now, the Germans and the French, they want to impose a quota system to try and spread refugees across the bloc, but the eastern member states like Hungary, like the Czech Republic, Slovakia and Romania, they don't like that system.
Now, you mentioned this earlier. Last night, Interior Ministers emerged with an agreement on how to distribute asylum seekers across the bloc despite opposition from some member states. What is expected out of tonight's meeting?
So it's important to note that the agreement that was agreed yesterday on the quota system wasn't agreed by the four eastern member states that I mentioned earlier of Hungary, the Czech Republic, Romania and Slovakia. They are completely against them, and that's very uncommon for the European Union to say that there's agreement unless it's unanimous. Now, what they're hoping today is to rubber stamp that agreement, potentially persuade some of the eastern member states to come round to their opinion and agree to the quota system that affects countries like Hungary. They will be relieved of around 54,000 asylum seekers from the Hungarian borders and refugee camps in Hungary if they were to agree to it, but they're unlikely to do so. What they're also talking about is implementing and agreeing on a number of safe countries. So countries like Kosovo, Albania, Turkey, for instance, where the people coming from those countries would be considered to be economic migrants and not refugees from war-torn countries. Also in that number would be sub-Saharan African countries, countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Central African Republic, Nigeria, where a lot of people are coming from, but the EU wants to call them economic migrants and not refugees, not people that will be more likely to be given asylum status here in the European Union.
Now, Slovakia is launching a legal challenge to mandatory quotas. Can the outcome of the vote be reversed?
It could do, but the problem with that is once you take it to the European Court of Justice, there is a long and lengthy legal process. The European Union has been accused of being incredibly slow to react to this refugee and migrant crisis, and generally processes that go through the ECJ take a number of years. So although that will be something that the Slovakians may consider doing, it's not going to confront the issue of trying to come to an agreement to solve the refugee crisis that the EU is facing very contemporaneously right now.
Now, another country that's not too happy is Hungary. They want out of the migration relocation scheme. Is this possible?
Well, they voted against it, and they say that they'll have no part. Now, it's important to note that the quota scheme would actually take refugees away from Hungary, not put them in there. The point is that Hungary, firstly, these countries in the East, they believe that immigration and asylum requests are a matter of national sovereignty, and they are for nation states to deal with, not to be decided upon by Brussels to decide who gets asylum in which countries. So that's their first opposition. Their second opposition is that they don't believe that the system will work. A refugee or an asylum seeker that gets given a place in Romania or Czech Republic, for instance, that wants to live in Germany, potentially because their family has been placed there, or perhaps because they believe that Germany is a stronger economy, or Sweden, a lot of the refugees want to go to. If they are given a place in Czech Republic or Romania, for instance, they will be able to travel through the EU's border-free zone, the Schengen zone, to get back to that country that they want to be in. So these countries just don't believe that the system will work.
Jack, just finally, what is the feeling at the moment about the United Kingdom's independent arrangement of intervention in dealing with the migrant redistribution?
So there's certainly an element of frustration towards the UK in this sense, but it is part of the UK's treaty agreement with the European Union. They can opt out of this. This is how they've agreed their position in the European Union. Now, Ireland and Denmark, they have opt-outs as well, but they've said that they will opt into the quota system. The UK says it intends to put more efforts into trying to deal with the situation in Syria, in the refugee camps where people are facing some pretty hard times down there, and also the knowledge is that it's going to get worse in the refugee camps in Syria, in Turkey, as we head out of summer and it gets much colder.
We'll have to leave it there. Thanks for the update, Jack.
Pleasure.